Hello, welcome to the week 2, the 4th lecture. Today we'll talk about the properties of water. In the last lecture, the 3rd lecture, we talked about water. Water is a polar covalent molecule. Water is a polar covalent molecules, and between water molecules, it can form hydrogen bond. So what we are talking about today, the water properties, they are all dependent on the hydrogen bond that are formed between water molecules. It is the hydrogen bond that in between water molecules that gives all these water properties. So remember what we learned from last time. So today we build on what we learned from last time. And we use what we learned from last time, the hydrogen bond, to explain different phenomenon that we observe in the nature. So the first question I want to ask you is this one on the slides. What molecule is the most common in living organisms? Well, the answer, of course, is water. But as I mentioned in the last lecture slides, theoretically we should call it water compounds, not water molecules. If you don't know the reason why I call it water compound instead of water molecules, please review the last lecture slides. It will give you the definition of compounds, and it will give you a definition of molecules. Then you will know why technically we should call water as water compounds instead of water molecules. But in our daily life, we already get used to call it water molecules, so we'll go with that. Water is necessary for survival because our body is made up of mostly water. The question is, do you know what is the percentage of human body contains water? It's made out of water. It's approximately 60% of our human body and 80% of the cell. So 80% of the cell, they are water because it is mostly in the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm contains mostly water, and we'll talk about the cell structure later. Well, water has 2 hydrogen atoms held by the polar covalent bond that I mentioned to you at the beginning of today's lecture. 2 hydrogen atom and 1 oxygen atom. It should say 1 here. One oxygen atom, 2 hydrogen atom, and they're joined by polar covalent bond. And because of the polar covalent bond, remember the analogy I told you last time is the high school bullying. Oxygen is large, so oxygen bully the hydrogen atom and take all their lunch money, aka the lunch money is the electron. Take all the electron close to itself, making itself slightly negative, so that the weak hydrogen atom becomes slightly positive, and so that the entire water molecule on one side it is positive, on the other side it is on the oxygen side it is slightly negative, on the hydrogen side it is slightly positive. That's why we call polar. Hydrogen bond occur between slightly positive hydrogen atom and the slightly negative oxygen atom. I call this the oxygen atom. So it's a slightly negative oxygen atom. Usually it is between 2 separate molecules. but sometimes it can occur with the same molecule. But for the hydrogen bond of the water, it is usually between two different water molecules. So last time we talked about this. This hydrogen bond here, it is between the slightly negative oxygen atom and then slightly positive hydrogen atom of this water molecule, of another water molecule here. So this is the hydrogen bond. So let's talk about the properties of water now, after we have a brief review of a last lecture. So hydrogen bond formed between the neighboring molecules. That gives rise to all these properties, the 6 properties of water that we want you to know. First one, high water surface tension. We talk about water surface tension all the time. What's that? As you can see from this picture here, each water molecule here, they can form hydrogen bond with each other. The hydrogen bond formed within each other causes something that we call surface tension. And because of the hydrogen bond they form with each other, it causes the dome shape of a water droplet. So the water droplet, here on the leaf, it is caused by the so-called surface tension. The surface tension is basically formed by hydrogen bond, as you can see from this from this picture here, formed by the hydrogen bond. And then because the hydrogen bond, they can produce a dome-shaped structure of the water. Even insects like this water strider here, they can actually stand on the water because the surface tension. The hydrogen bond formed on the surface of the water is strong enough to support certain insects. Another properties of water is cohesive and adhesive. Cohesive basically means that water molecules sticks to each other. So it's one water molecule sticks to another water molecule. The prefix co implies that they are of the same type of molecule. They are of the same type of water molecules. Of course, they stick to each other by hydrogen bond. The word adhesion means that water sticks to a different molecule or sticks to a different surface. So the prefix "at" means that water attach on the surface of different molecules. So because, as you know, that water is slightly positive on the oxygen atom and slightly negative on the hydrogen atom. So it allows water to stick to so-called other polar surface. That means molecules, they are also polar, but they are not water. So water can stick to other polar molecule, and then we call this adhesive or adhesion. So because of adhesive and cohesive, water becomes very good for transporting a lot of substances in different in different areas. For example, water is very good at transporting inside plants, inside something called xylem. And also many of you may have heard about a term called capillary action. Capillary action is basically based on adhesive and cohesive properties. So as the picture show you here, adhesion is the red arrow here, is the red arrow here, and the red arrow here. And cohesion is the you can call it the pink arrow here. Because of the adhesion and cohesion properties, you have the it forms the meniscus inside the capillary tube. So it is because of adhesion and cohesion, water will form a meniscus, and also due to adhesion, meaning that water will stick to a different surface, in this case a glass wall, and adhesion is the force. Adhesion is the force that pull water up, that pull the water up. Adhesion is the force that pull the water up. That's why when we talk about capillary action, usually water can move up in a small tube. We call it capillaries. And it is against gravity. And plant uses this physical properties of water. Water can go through a capillary in plant called xylem, so that water absorbed in the root can be pulled up all the way up to the tree top to feed the leaves, so that the leaves can go and can undergo photosynthesis. And the good thing about this is that capillary action, or we call it adhesion and cohesion, does not require any energy. So it saves plant a lot of energy to transport water from root through the stems all the way to the leaves on the tree tops. It is a very smart strategy that plants develop through evolution. Unlike human being, we require heart to contract and relax to pump the blood all over our body. But the pumping, the contraction and relaxation of the heart requires energy. We call it ATP. So in this case, I personally think that plants are smarter than human beings in terms of evolution, because they save a lot of energy. So as I told you before, adhesion, cohesion allow plants to transport water from root to the leaves. So this is what happened. They uses the cohesion and adhesion, or we call it capillary action, in the xylem. Xylem, they are basically a capillary developed in the stem, in the root, in the stems, and in the plant, in the leaves of a tree. The water conducting cell it mentioned here is basically xylem. And then they use the hydrogen bonding for adhesion, because the wall of the xylem is also polar. And they also use hydrogen bonding to connect each water molecule. Yeah, so this is a real life example of using a capillary action or adhesion and cohesion in a living organism. We call it tree.